the wonder of sunset at evening, the wondrous sunrise I see, but the wonder of wonders that thrills my soul is
Good afternoon, my dear viewer. I want to thank God for this opportunity to come before us today to share with us a topic I know might be controversial, but it is very important that we look at it because it is a matter of life and death. Before we go into that, I want to pray for your indulgence to please join us. Let us pray together. Our Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, I bring myself and my listeners to your very throne of grace this evening. Please, as we are going to deliberate on this very important issue about your word, the gospel, King of glory, please talk to us by using a language that is proper and correct, so that we can really get this information as you want it to be to your Son, Jesus Christ. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray. Amen. All right, the topic we're going to look at now is what is actually the gospel? What is actually the gospel? This topic has become necessary because there is a growing need among the people who go to church, who attend church services and places, even among people who preach, preachers themselves, many who are founders of different churches. You check it around, there are many people who preach what they preach, but down at the bottom of their hearts, they ask the question, actually, what is the gospel? What constitutes, what make up the gospel? What are the messages that when you are preaching them, somebody will say, this message is the gospel? And then the one that when you are preaching them, people will say you are preaching heresy, or you are poisoning the church, poisoning the people of God, and polluting the earth. This is the very important thing that we are going to look at in this message today. So we want to look at the difference between the two, and as we progress, I want to appeal to you to give me your attention. We will read scriptures as we progress. There may not be many of them, but we will touch places that are very necessary. Now, we are going to look at this message from three places. Number one, what the gospel is. Number two, what is not a gospel, but is necessary for the church. In other words, the messages that are not the gospel, but they are important, they are essential to the church. I want to say now as we go that if you hear any disturbance of noise outside, there are students downstairs receiving lectures this evening.
Lift up his arms, he is King of Kings. Lift up his hands.
God bless you. Please, if you can understand me there. Now, we are going to start, okay, at this moment, the gospel. Now, I tried to find out the meaning of the gospel from dictionary, from Wikipedia online. And what they gave there are very fantastic definitions. You know, Wikipedia, for instance, gives it this way. As not the messages involving the coming of Jesus Christ to earth to save man from sin and then for them to return to God. All right? And secondly, it added that gospel also involves all those messages that talks about the Holy Spirit coming into the life of a man and his work in the life of a man to help the person return to heaven. So gospel falls within that category. And then they cited the first 5 books of the Bible, the New Testament, as regarded as the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you for that. And what they said there is true. However, it is very, very important that at this moment we see this gospel from its proper light. We see it from the light where it's supposed to be seen and how it is supposed to be viewed. And that is why I want to present you this definition. The gospel is a group of messages whose primary aim is to achieve 3 things in the life of a Christian. But basically 2 things. The third one does not affect everybody. All right? But basically there are 2 that are the major aims of the gospel. The first one is found in the book of 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter number 5, chapter number 1. All right, we're going to read from the Bible at this moment, and then we'll see what the Bible has for us in that place. 1 Thessalonians chapter number 5. All right, the Bible reads there, it says something like this. So 1 Thessalonians chapter number 1. Okay, 1 Thessalonians number 1. Right, my iPad is giving me a small problem, and let me just take another one from the laptop. All right, chapter number 1, verse 10. The Bible says, "And to wait for his Son from heaven." We are to wait. All right, for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, even Jesus, which delivered us from the wrath to come. That's one of the things the gospel is aimed at. Saving mankind, saving living humans here on earth from the anger of God that is to be revealed. Revelation has already given us the sound, the picture of things that will happen when God comes down to destroy the earth. That time, we will see the anger of God, how it looks like. And I will not be there, and I don't pray to be there. Nobody should be there. It will be horrible. And that's the essence of the gospel, to save us from that danger. Because even hellfire and rain or fire are part of God's expression of his anointing. Now, you see, the Bible says that's number 1, to save us from what? The wrath to come. That is it. That means any message that is designed to save man, whenever you preach it, your mindset is to save man from God's anger, from going to hell, from going to the lake of flames, all right, the liquid fire. Any message designed in that pattern falls under the gospel, and that has to do with repentance message, all right, giving a life to Jesus, whatever message is meant to convince people to give their life to Jesus Christ willingly without a condition. You see, there are people who come to repent because one pastor told them it is only when you repent that God can fight your battle, that God can give you car, that God can give you that and this and the other one. For that reason, they give their life to Christ. They try to give their life to Christ based on those conditions. And when they have tried, let me just try and see now, and they did, which of course normally they don't get converted. The Spirit of God is not there to convert them because their own kind of conversion is selfish. And nothing later happened. They become one of the mixed multitude that give the church trouble, accusing and questioning whether religion makes sense. It's rubbish. And they begin to ask, where was God when this one happened? Where was God when the other one happened? No. All such messages are nonsense. But I'm saying that a true gospel has a way of convincing somebody to see his sinful life and hate it. Not just hate it properly, it will make the person totally loathe the idea of sin. And because he can't destroy and support it, he willingly submits his life to Jesus Christ, who has the power to destroy sin, remove its passion and interest in the heart of that person, make the person a new being. That is what the gospel is. Number 1. There are so many uncountable messages that fall on that place. There are so many reactions. And that is why it is said that he who is able to win a soul is wise. It is thorough wisdom. So it's one aspect of the gospel. And can you see that many people who preach today on the pulpit in modern churches and everywhere today, majority don't even know the gospel truth. They don't even know the message they will preach to convert a person. They all have at least come and tell how this and that happened to them, and the other one which happened to be to their own benefit. They tell it as a story. Somebody who become long throat just put the person out. So that means if I give my life to Christ, the thing I'm going to benefit. They now come, they say, oh yeah, come out and just give your life to Jesus Christ. They pray one kind of funny prayer in front of the altar. The person will go back and still remain a thief, and still remain a liar, or else person. There's no different sign that something has happened inside you. He doesn't even notice it. And he begins to discover that his desire for smoking is still there. His desire for chasing women is still there. Or desires for immorality, sex, drunkenness, pornography, and all kinds of rotten things that he does in the secret. They are still there. And then you begin to wonder whether it is even true that God can change a human being. God changes people. The Lord says that you have been listening to the wrong message, and they tell you that it's the gospel. It's not the gospel. The gospel message that leads to conversion is strong and deep. Are you getting it? Number 2, the gospel is meant to mold Christians to become more like Jesus Christ. And it is found in the book of Romans chapter 8 verse 29. Look at it. It says, for whom he did foreknow, He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son. Meaning, it is to take the image, appear. When you see that person, all right? When you see that person, you see Jesus Christ, a simplification and a physical example of Christ. In other words, when you see the person, the first impression that hits you is that this is a child of God. This one is a real Christian. There is no difference about that. Not the one you see somebody who looks very polished, very corporate, like more than a modern person, a digital Christian, but the first impression you have whenever you see that person is nothing but either a banker, person working in one financial institution, working in one digital electronic company. The person looks so polished, so fine, even projecting some kind of sparky appearances that look very attractive. But you don't have this first impression that this is a true child of God. No, the first impression that you have there is that this particular individual is actually maybe one actor, one musician, something like that. That's the first thing you see. Or it's one of those fine modern churchgoers, they're not just actually a Christian, not just Christ-like. Though he looked like a religious person, you cannot even identify him as a Christian. However, the Bible says one of the purposes of the gospel is to move, to change us to look like Jesus Christ. So that by looking at Christ and looking at us, he becomes the firstborn of many children that is given to us. Now, these are the first two things that the gospel aims at. And anybody who preaches any other thing and call the gospel not targeting these two things, that person is missing. That person is lying. I said that person is what? He is lying. He's not preaching the gospel. She is not preaching the gospel, no matter how valuable such information is to human life and daily interactions. I'm going to elaborate more on that. Then the third one that does not affect everybody is to free people who are in bondage of any kind. You know, Jesus Christ mentioned this in the book of Luke chapter 4, verse 18 and 19. And this is what he said. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. Can you see? Majorly, the gospel is preached. And in the process, he has also sent me to heal the brokenhearted. You see, healing the brokenhearted has to do with consolation, encouragement, talking to people, and all that is involved. Not everybody had that skill. All right? You can see it is something that happens to people who are brokenhearted. Not everybody suffers brokenness in the heart. Or rather, who is injured emotionally. No, not everybody has that. All right? Who has suffered some kind of loss or pain in their emotional pain. No, but then he was sent to heal them. Number 3, also to predict. He also said that he had been anointed also to preach deliverance to the captives. There are people who, for one reason or the other one, are victims of one bondage. All right, that's what we're talking about, deliverance. And you can notice that some churches today, their teaching is only on deliverance. Deliverance. That's why you can hear demons of different kinds. Demons on paper, demons in the air, demons in the water, spirits, all kinds of demons. These people know the names of different kinds of demons more than they know about God. I don't know what they call. And he says the gospel. However, there are people like that. Not every Christian is in that category. The Bible clearly mentioned that when we are born again and we are free from everything. But somebody could have done something that demand either restitution or certain kind of issues that to be carried out. Yes, especially restitution. It is one of the weapons that has to be better. There are also some kind of administration that can free the person from such offenses. For instance, one who was involved in cultism need to do restitution to get free from them, not to be cultist. There are people who may have been injured, who may have cost somebody. Even after being born again, that cost cannot be lifted until that person forgives us. So you see that there are messages that can guide the person along that place to free the person from that kind of bondage. Now we come up again. It says something, and recovery of sight to the blind. Of course, we know that there are people who have the gift of prayer, and then the blind people will see physically. But nothing is more beautiful like opening the spiritual eye of somebody to be able to discern all kinds of spirits around, to be able to see vision of things to come, maybe idea, whatever it is, to have an insight into something, all right, to discover new ideas, and that is that. It's an opening of sight. You can be able to see. So he said he was giving that grace to help people recover their sight. Now he said also set apart liberty. He said that liberty then that are used. You see, there are people that do not have emotional problem, but there is somebody that will treat them something. Something will happen to them as a result of somebody. Something that another person did to them. They are totally dying in their rooms. All right, there's something they pass through. Maybe natural causes or unnatural causes. Perhaps death. Perhaps blackmailing. Perhaps somebody just used them to do something very evil and use their name to do something very bad, and the thing is killing them. You see, there is a way you can talk to those people. That thing that is happening to them become very meaningless. He said he was given the grace to do that. Then to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. You see, one of the things that we call the acceptable years of the Lord is this. So one of the things we call the acceptable years of the Lord can be the day somebody will be dead. Yes, it can be. The day somebody will die. It can be the day, acceptable year of the Lord can be the day somebody is going to die. Meaning the day that somebody who is a child of God is returning home, God loves it. It can be a time of rapture. It can be a period that God has selected primarily to bless somebody with material things, resource material things, give it to them. It can be his acceptable, accepted it. In fact, acceptable of the Lord can be a time God wants to break up the Bible. Want to come down and break the Bible for men. It is an acceptable to preach those years, to reveal it to people. Yes, these are days that God, these are part of the gospel. The full distance. Now, whatever happens here has to do with the administration of maybe physical need, which has spiritual purpose. For instance, blindness of the eye can be physical blindness, but there is a more dangerous one, which is a spiritual one. If you teach about the physical one and forget about the spiritual one, you are in trouble. You are preaching rubbish. You are not preaching the word of God. That is the truth about that. Now, let's look at this very much well. If this is the gospel, and the gospel is expected to gather these things, meaning the gospel's aim and primary purpose is to save us from the damnation that is coming, and while we are still alive, to make us to be a copy of Jesus Christ. In other words, that when people see us, the way we live our life, they will want to become the kind of people we are. We become advertisement information, a kind of tool for advertising Christ. And before you know it, people who admire us, they want to be like us. They want to do the same thing that we do. And before you know that, God is being promoted. God is being honored in the midst of his own people. Alright? Now, it is not this simple. So then the third one is to be able to free people who are different kind of bondage and to minister to physical needs. Remember, all these things I've done here, I mentioned this third one, are meant to serve as means of attracting people to God. Are meant to attract people to Jesus Christ. Now let us look at what is not the gospel, but they are essential to the body of Christ. Number one, it is found in the book of 3 John, chapter number 3. Alright, chapter number 1, verse 2. 3 John, chapter number 1, verse 2. Let us look at that place, please. 3 John, chapter number 1, verse 2. The Bible has this thing to say. Chapter number 1, verse 2. The Bible has this one to say. It says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. See, he's wishing something. But if you look at this sentence very much, one of them is the most paramount. Even as thy soul prospereth, he wished that if as the soul of man is prospering, as we are growing in the things of God, as we are becoming more like Jesus Christ, as we are working our salvation with fear and trembling to become more like Christ, he wished if God can just be willing, let him also grant us good health. Let him also grant us prosperity of our soul, meaning let our soul prosper in everything that we want to do. Whatever vocation we find ourselves, we can also acquire material things. How I wish God would do that. It's a wish, it's not a must. Neither is it open to everybody. For him to wish it, meaning he gives God his liberty to decide the people he will grant these things to. Do you know that somebody's sickness can be in God's permission to stay, for him to be able to expand something? Have you not heard in the Bible where the Bible said that some people, there was a man born crippled. When Jesus came there, he said, no, not the father, not the mother, or anybody is at fault. But God allowed it that he may be glorified. And when he came, he was glorified. Meaning there are people who can be barren for life, and their life will later become a meaning to us. A lot of things like that. Sending huge, you say, oh, whatever the question, I can't really remember now. The man who used to write, who was the author of that daily devotional called Our Daily Bread. We read that when this man died of cancer, he had only lost 6 of his children, his wife being the first. He lost 6 of his children to different kind of sicknesses. And when they met him dying of the same cancer, A man that fed the whole world with devotional that became, you must have known I'm deliberate now. When he was about to die, and people saw him, said, "You are sick." And you be there. Are you not regretting? Say, "What am I regretting for?" "No, I am regretting." "But you have lost all your children." He said, "No, I did not lose anything. I have children all over the whole world. These ones, it pleases the Lord to ask them to come home because it is their time. I shall meet them, and I am happy that I have 6 of them." Wonderful. But today, somebody dies. We try to look at the meaning. We try to attach physical reasons. We don't say that there are no such physical reasons, but why must we do well on it? Why not find out whether it is God's plan? That is the thing. That's the issue. So you see, there are people that God can allow something bad to happen to them for Him to promote a truth, to me to preach to something, for Him to make something clearer to the stubborn world. The world is very difficult and stubborn. They need some kind of evidence, all right, to get these things clear to them. So you see, that's one thing about the gospel. It's not everything that is everybody that is going to prosper. So there are messages that has to do with how we prosper. For instance, the financial aspect, talking about physical things. So I'm talking about prosper now. So whenever you get the word prosper, that's where we get this idea of prosperity messages that teaches us how to do things and succeed in life, gain breakthroughs, how to take care of ourselves, how to dress, how to appear, the method of doing things so that we can generate and benefit and progress in our physical endeavors here on earth. And they form messages, and people really love that. And you see that? But sometimes we come to people and speak in such a beautiful way to make them admire us. All right? Anything that has to do with that, destiny, breakthrough, whatever. And listen, let me tell you something. We're going to look at that very much well. And now, all right? Now, you see, these things are very clear. We have to put a dichotomy between the gospel and this kind of essential messages that are not gospel messages. Anything about material, any teaching, whatever, that has to do with our welfare here on earth, physically here on earth, comfort, it's not a gospel message. Get that clear to your mind. But there are some that are important to us, some that are not. Now, for instance, you see, in the book of Luke chapter 9, verse 11 to verse 13, Jesus had the disciples before him on the mountain preaching to them, and at a point he now told the disciples, tell them to go, because it is evening, everyone should go home. Right? That's the disciples started to talk to Jesus that we release the people, it's night, let them go and find food somewhere and eat. He said, no, they should go nowhere, you have to give them. Telling the people here, therefore, that there are people whose business is to preach the pure, raw word of God. They have no duty tampering with all this other thing that has to do with physical earth and the need of man. If there is anybody like that in the church, there are special people who are gifted in teaching people how to progress, how to acquire and get the things of this earth done. Now, if you look at the book of Acts, all right, the Bible now mentions that there was a time such kind of challenge came from the church. And then Peter, Paul, and the other disciples were confronted with it. The simple thing they did was this. They said, get for us 7 men who are full of the Holy Spirit and wisdom. Let them take care of how to handle needs of people physically. Things they can do to progress and feel comfortable and be comforted and their physically be met here on earth. They leave us with the duty of what? Preaching the word and prayer. And you can see the trouble we're having in the church today. People who don't know that the gospel and prayer are siamese twins, you can't separate the two. But you can see somebody who has the talent, who has the wisdom, the clever things. You know, we're talking about wisdom because nobody can preach how to make it on earth without having knowing the way things work on earth. And it takes somebody who is wise to know the rules that govern things, what you're going to do and to get this result. It is wrong to start preaching it. That is why such type of messages, they are essential. If only we can present them rightly, how you're supposed to present them. Such type of messages should be presented as teaching, not as preaching. Yes, as preaching, because people, if you are preaching, nobody can ask you questions. Just taught me how to be able to make money through online, or how to do importation and exportation, or how to invest my money, how to do. And I'm not clear about it, but you presented it to me as a preacher. You are telling me how I'm going to succeed in life, only to discover that actually those things we are just reading, things like that. Not too clear to me. So we have to be very careful, because in the church today, the right way we can say, if I might suggest, in terms of preaching the gospel, I can say that we can put these things in a better way for the safety of the church, because the paramount target of the gospel is to help us to return home, where we came from, to return to heaven. So, but we cannot say we are here on earth and then we just be saying gospel. People are going to heaven, are we not going to it? Are we not going to worship? Don't you need the house? Not really the Of course, the apostles, they were busy people, they are business people. But if I say I'm going to do business and I don't know how to do it, somebody needs to teach me. And that thing needs to be taught in the church. That is part, it's not a gospel. We need to learn that. That is what the Bible is wishing. How I wish we also progress in that. Since we got, in fact, check out Jesus Christ himself. In all his ministry, he never spent his time or wasting it on something. Say he's talking about how you're going to do business, how you're going to succeed, investment pattern, getting connected, how you get connected, behavior, attitude and behavior, how you package yourself, whatever to get this result and other things. He only cited 1 or 2 cases. For instance, we're talking about the people of the world are now passing the people of God of the kingdom, because they use the rules of the world to succeed. Therefore, in the church, in this case, Jesus said there are people who have that gift, they are in the midst, who know how to do this thing. Delegate it to them. Like, let's say a month, where we have like 4 weeks. You can choose one particular week that is designed purely for teaching how to acquire physical things. If it is in real estate, if it's engineering, whatever it is, let that person who knows it very much well treat it. People treat it and let it be given enough time. Maybe during Bible study, maybe Sunday school, whatever. Treat it and give people room to fire questions to you, so that you can answer them. If you preach it on the pulpit, nobody will answer you questions, and they will go home. Nah, this man talk well, but how can I start? Yes, how will I begin? That is why you see, with all the preaching going on today in the church and everything, people are still confused. They have 1,001 questions to ask. And nobody is trying to explain, because they present this or that ordinary, like whatever ministry, because what the book of Acts calls it. We cannot leave the preaching of the word of God and prayer and begin to carry out ministry of tables. No, give it to some people that will do that. Then ourselves will commit it to prayer. And that is why I want to warn people. Please be careful. Stop saying, oh, it's not about prayers. The gospel and prayer cannot succeed. But if it has to do with other ministry of tables, succeeding in life, progress in life, prayer is not necessary. It's not even mentioned there in the book of Acts. We are not told that they will be praying to do that. No, they use their intuition, what they know, as the workable principles of life that make these things to happen. What do people know these things, and they are using it, is working for them. They're Christians. While we are also pursuing heaven, we can bring somebody to teach us this thing once in a while. Why do I make it? I said the remaining 3 weeks should be committed to teaching and preaching the word of God in the gospel sense, because our mind should be more boldly soaked in the things of God, being more conscious about heaven, so that if we are doing the things we have here on earth, it will be balanced. Because the man's love for physical things is stronger than his love for what he doesn't see. And that is why you have to make more emphasis on the things that he doesn't see than things that he sees. But today the church is turned upside down. We teach it the other way around. So what are we saying? We now look at it. Now, what is heresy? Heresy is simply the promotion of things that these teachings I'm talking about are over the gospel. We preach it and we emphasize it. We talk too much about this, and at the end of it, generate some things in people's mind. In the church, it promotes such things like anxiety. People become impatient. Look at the kind of way we pray. By the end of this month, by the end of this week, we try to give God time. This will happen. Before the end of this year, you will marry, you will buy a jeep and car, you will build house, your investment will be in US, will be in Japan, and other things. And as we give God time, or rather speak these things and claim that they are professional declarations, we are implanting in people the spirit of impatience, and they will be impatient with God. When those things don't come to pass, we now create very greedy people. People who are idolaters, they worship material things, because the loss of the eye, the loss of the flesh and pride of life will crowd their head based on for the fact that it's you, the pastor, that is talking it. They will think it's God that is talking. But it's not the gospel. It is not the gospel. The gospel takes our mind to heaven, conscious about heavenly things, pure. Then these other teachings fix us to this earth, and anything that makes us to love what is here on earth, instead of making to see them as ordinary things, not too valuable, not placing too much value on them. Not that we don't need them, we need them, we don't love them. Because you love something that you value too much. When you just see something as a necessity, something you just work with to get this done, and after that you just forget about it, it will not take away your peace whenever that thing leaves you. And that is that. So what are we saying? You see, this kind of other messages that are necessary for the church, but they are not the gospel. An abuse of them leads to heresy. Another kind of heresy is when the church begins to teach demonic doctrines, practices of evil, spiritism. There are people who do that Even common miracle, it has to do with spiritual demonic activities. And some other things like that. People practice them. What the occult people do, what ritualists do, and some people who join all sorts of organizations that are demonic, like Illuminati and other things like that, just to get certain things that will make them succeed in life, and they will come and start shouting praise the Lord before us and deceive people with it. Right? These things are very, very, very harsh, and we must be careful about it to separate them. These are heresies. These are evil. When you are promoting the philosophy of man, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and all the people who claim they are wise, and then their words make more sense to us. Even some ideas in science and technology that say there is no God, they try to question if actually there is God. These are philosophies of men. Do you know that people who preach that in church? There are people who teach it to people and they say this is the gospel and they challenge it. They can even pick their opinion from the Bible. From there, begin to advance the ideology and psychological thinking and perceptions of men to people and say they are the gospel. These are evil, these are heresies. Therefore, if you can know today that the gospel, any message that does not make you love God, love heaven and kingdom of God and the government of God, and pushes you to almost desire everything about God, is not the gospel. Lastly, what is the bane of the modern day church? We have abandoned the gospel. That's the modern day church. And now we are emphasizing more on table ministry. How one will succeed, the way one will package himself, what one needs to do to become recognized. We begin to leave the issue of introduction and progress and success in life under the strategic thinking of men and leave men with the responsibility to do it. And we go and look for different kind of motivational books, we go attend to different motivational functions and surf the web and look for all kinds of thinking and people, even worldly and corrupt and occultic people now give us their words, we use it and preach them in the church. And we say these people were actually servants of, we even help sinners, occult members, to get the badge of being children of God. We are very stupid in such things. Now that's what the church does. Secondly, the church lays too much emphasis on the ordinary issues that doesn't concern everybody. For instance, the liberation thing, the difference from demonic, whatever. You see that many churches today, that's why they settle on signs and wonders. Listen, let me tell you something. Signs and wonders is not part of the gospel. It is part of the other table ministry. Why? It is, yes, it is, because signs and wonders doesn't change anybody. There are people that have passed through experience of what miracles, signs and wonders, and they still go back and remain in sin. At least I prayed. I was one of the people who prayed for somebody who had HIV, and God liberated that person. He went back into sin, and then after some years, contacted the same people again, ran back to the church for help. But this time around, God told him, your faith will heal you, and that was how that woman died. So don't tell me this thing. Signs and wonders is not part of the gospel. In fact, whenever Jesus wants to do signs and wonders, he's not talking about the things of the kingdom. He heals the person. When the healing has taken place, he returns back. No wonder people throng him. In other words, signs and wonders are advertisement instruments. God uses it to bring people. And if you know what it means to preach the gospel, you can, and God give you the grace to heal and deliver. My dear, please, let the healing and deliverance bring them. When they gather together, please drop the teaching about how to perform miracles, how to succeed in life, how to put it aside. Take them to the what message of the grace, message of heaven, message of how we're going to go back. This is the message they need. The salvation of their soul is the most important thing, and that's why God gave her these miracles, signs and wonders, to bring them. Why do you think people follow Jesus Christ? Is it only his message? Even though his message was beautiful and sweet, and some are even bad and bad to them, of course, they came majorly because of the thing that happened. They want to go and see this man that is carrying, performing strange things in the church, in life. So they come around. Therefore, I want to tell the church, the more we preach these things, we deny people the opportunity of hearing the message that will transform them to become like Christ. Instead, they make them to become more worldly conscious. They follow the things that are after the world. Anybody who does that is a criminal. If you are in the church, if you are inside the church and you are preaching these kind of messages, you center more on this instead of bringing the people of God to be conscious of their departure here on earth. You are the tout, you are wicked, you are evil, you are a satanic agent. And I don't beg you on anything, you are very, very evil. You are going to go to hell unless you repent now and stop that nonsense. Stop being deceived that because you can fly aircraft and mile while I'm still trekking, you come and say, who gave you the right to tell me? I'm telling you, if you like, listen to me. If you don't listen to me, I say you are going to hell. There is no two ways about that. Your judgment will be great. But those people who have decided, God didn't give you the grace to do such signs and miracles. Thank God for you. Do it and then use it. When they come and you still preach to them the word, Tell them the danger of sin. Save them. Guide them into your right ways. My dear, continue. The grace of God will be with you. The Lord, whom you are serving, will love you, He will keep you, He will save you. And I believe that if we can be able to pay attention to this thing, the Lord, who is our God, will bless all of us and bring us back to Himself in Jesus' name. Shall we pray? Father, please glorify yourself this moment and bring us back to the gospel truth. When we will hear you, you will tell us your mind, and we will feel the power of the presence of God changing us, making us who we're supposed to become in your presence. Thank you, Father, for this message. As far as we have heard this word, please make it penetrate and sink into the heart of people. And those who are going to use this message to change their life, kindly use it. If there is anywhere that didn't present it well, please present it better for them to understand. Thank you, Father, for giving the chance to be the instrument you're using to pass this to Amnesia Trust, even though myself, I am also from the mountain. Thank you, Father, for today. For in Jesus' name.
Music is ringing. Listen, music is ringing. Who sing? Angels are singing. Who sing? Angels are singing. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord of hosts. Listen, music is ringing. Listen, music is ringing. Who sing? Angels are singing. Who sing? Angels are singing. Praise the